This is Ally Burnett with the Buyer's Box podcast. Today we have a very special guest and a close friend of mine, Nikki.
What's up, y'all? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for getting on our podcast. I'm so excited. Can you share a little bit about you?
Yes. So my name is Nikki Pais, and I work with two companies that I am overly invested in, which is Easy Home Search and Digital Maverick, which means that I am coaching agents and ISAs on a regular basis, just invested in their language. That is my wheelhouse. How do we further conversations and do meaningful touches so the lead generation process doesn't feel so painful?
Right. Share a little bit for anybody that doesn't know what's an ISA.
Sure. So an ISA really is your inside sales agents and shouldn't exist. Our goal would be that every single agent is talking to their leads and would be able to convert them by themselves. Now, with the way that lead generation works now, we get those leads so early in the process, which means that it's more difficult for an agent to continue lead generation at a certain volume while they are closing so many transactions. That's where the ISA comes into play. This is the person who is calling, texting, emailing to do the average number of touches. I think right now is at like 67 touches before we get a hold of someone. And then once they have a qualified lead, then they are getting it over to the agent.
Yeah, absolutely. And so our team, we have two ISAs and an audit manager. And so the audit manager really kind of acts as an ISA, but more so texting. They don't get on the phone with anybody. Super valuable for our team. They train directly with Nikki. They train directly with Andrew and I. And so we really, really focus on conversion because ultimately, if you have a real estate team or if you're in the real estate industry, you don't get a paycheck if you don't sell a house, and you don't sell a house unless you get in front of the person. So this is really the key part to getting you to your next paycheck. Can you talk a little bit about, we always focus on conversion. Like, what are some of the key hangups that happen like in the beginning? Like, okay, pretend I'm a brand new agent. I have a list of leads. Like, what am I going to call? What am I going to say to these people? How do I convert them? How
Yeah.
did that go?
So at the beginning of a process, the thing for most agents is that they're expecting that people are going to be thrilled to call, right? That people are going to be like, oh my God, I was waiting for this phone call. And that's never the case. Sales skepticism, which means that people are more and more hesitant to pick up the phone to a number they don't know, which means that you have to be so calm and personal, or else the trust is just fragile, waiting to be broken. So when we're at the beginning of those phone calls, we're really looking to quickly bring those barriers down because the skepticism is already there.
Absolutely. So you'll get a kick out of this. Out of all the thousands of calls that I've done, there's actually been two people that answered the phone and said, I'm so happy to hear from you. So that never absolutely never happens. One was like, I've been praying about my real estate experience and I'm so glad you called. And then another one said, wow, thank you so much. But that never happens. That's like the
Rare.
anomalies.
Yeah, exactly. And when it does, I'm like, I already love you. Please. Thank you. I can't wait that we're working together. Yes.
Yeah, but also they weren't serious and they never bought a house. So like I don't know if those count.
Where they say something and they're like, oh, yeah, because my introduction says, hey, Allie, this is Nikki out in Myrtle Beach. I'm the one who's been sending you listings, so I'm double checking to see if you're still looking. And so they sometimes respond with familiarity. Well, they'll say, yeah, I've seen your listings, or, oh, okay, that was you. And so you can have a positive response based on your introduction. But like you said, it's definitely going to be rare that they're like, God told me you were going to call me today.
That
Yeah.
was basically the call.
Yeah.
So a lot of the agents that we talk to, they are kind of at the point in their career where they've tried Zillow, Realtor, they bought leads, all sorts, and they don't really know what to do with them, and they feel a little awkward, honestly, calling them back after all this time has gone by. So do you use the same script every time? How do you manage that?
Yeah. So every agent, I really want you to hear me on this. Your thought process that an old lead is going to be awkward. Statistically, your old lead needs to be in your CRM for 1 year at a minimum before they're actually serious to start the process, which means looking at homes, which means taking calls, etc. So don't be discouraged saying, oh, these old leads, it's going to be awkward. Absolutely not. Your hottest lead is typically one that's been sitting there for a while. That being said, as far as your introduction is concerned, I don't change my introduction for a lead unless I can see that they have not looked at anything for more than a year, 2 years, which means even if that lead is 6 years old, but they were looking at something within the year, my intro is going to stay the same. However, if I can see that there's no activity, I do make an adjustment. If you were my lead, I would say something like, hey, Ally, this is Nikki out in Myrtle Beach. How are you? And you'd say one thing or another. You might even be skeptical and say, I'm fine. What's this about? And I'd say, yeah, last time we spoke, you had plans of making a move, but it seemed like things were on a bit of a pause. How are things looking as of now? And the safe part about that is no matter how much time has passed, right? Your worst case scenario is that they say, I don't remember talking with you. And that's fine. I would say at that point, oh, it's been a while. I bet others have reached out to you since then. My feelings aren't hurt. Tell me, is move and still the game plan? And we move right around rather than I've been sending you listings. Are you looking? Because I know for sure it's way too outdated for that to be possible.
Sure. I mean, I think that makes total sense. So let's flip it to the total other end of the spectrum. Some of our viewers have hundreds of thousands of leads, tens of thousands of leads. If you haven't called your leads, we try to call everybody in our database at least every 30 days. Like I know for certain at least every 90 days, everybody's been touched. So let's say it's longer than that. Where do you start? How do you figure that out?
I would say that my follow-up routine, regardless of whether I've spoke with them or not, any lead who I concretely, and I do mean concretely, y'all. I don't mean that they told me they were waiting for 2 years and I accepted that as truth. What I mean is that I double checked, triple checked, found out if there was any flexibility and it's really not possible. Okay, maximum in that case, I'm following up with them every 90 days. That's your ISA. Your ISA is supposed to make sure that those leads that are further out don't get lost, right? And then after we've gotten through that 1 year mark, then at that point we'd go to every month. So your 30-day follow-up should be for the 6 months prior to the 6 months that they're ready, okay? Now, and I hope I'm not losing y'all here because this method has worked for me 1 bajillion times. Once we're in the 6 month range of somebody's looking, I'm going to be looking every 2 weeks until I get to their 3 month mark. Once I'm in their 3 month, that means that I should be talking to them every week at a minimum. Now, for some of your leads, 3 months means that if they see something right now, they can go under contract. The amount of time it's going to take them to get pre-approved, to find what they love, be under contract. 90 days for us means this is a hot lead and I should be working as though we could find it this week.
Fair. And I know that you work with a lot of teams all over the country. Do you see that this changes or this concept changes for second home markets versus primary home markets? Because we're in a second home market here.
Yeah. So the only difference that I see in second home markets is really honing in on when they're going to come, right? And I don't know why there are so many second home markets that aren't obsessed with, do you have any plans to come out to Myrtle Beach? Do you have any plans to come out and visit over the holidays here in XYZ? And so if you could obsess with that as your timeline, rather than obsessing over when they think they're going to start looking, that's your only shift. I need to know when you're going to be here because I'm going to make the most of the time when you're present.
Oh, sure. And like I'm obsessed with it. So I pretty much know every single direct flight that comes into Myrtle Beach, what airline, how many times a week they come. So if somebody says I'm in Atlantic City, I'm like, oh, wonderful. There's a direct flight that comes on every Tuesday and Thursday. And like I know exactly when those flights are coming in.
That's why they're going to choose you though, because you go that extra step, right? If they have a choice between an Ally who's going to say, I know when they come, I can help you find the flight, I'll be a part of the process. And they instead have Joe, and Joe mistakenly is like, okay, well, you let me know. They're naturally more inclined to think that person was more proactive, right? They're going to choose the Ally every time.
Hopefully.
They do. I know your numbers. They do.
Thanks. And I think there's definitely some thoughtfulness around it. Like for us, like we like to come up with an itinerary. So if somebody doesn't know when they're coming, like we hear a lot of like, well, I'll come when I find the right thing, and then the conversation is, have you ever been here? And they're like, well, no. So we'll tell them that we will create them a whole itinerary. So we figure out where they're coming from, we figure out when they're available, if they know, and then we'll say to them, okay, we will set up an itinerary for you that starts right at the North Carolina line, and we'll route it all different directions, and basically we'll have some stops along the way. We'll have you stop at some stores, some restaurants. Tell me what you like. If somebody likes drinking, don't drink, drive too much, have a DD, but like we'll make you a pub crawl. Doesn't matter. So that way, they have an idea of what part of town they like. And the other part too is like, we're not tour guides. Like, unpopular opinion, like real estate agents are not tour guides. So it's like, our responsibility is to give the facts and to help, direct you in what might make sense. And we're always here to support in that. But it doesn't make sense for you as the real estate agent or for the client to drag somebody around and show them 30 different houses in all sorts of different places that don't even make sense, don't even apply.
Yeah, I think it's really important what you just said because the thing is, we're not saying, when are you going to come to look at houses if you've never been here? We're saying, oh my gosh, you need a vacation. It doesn't even matter if you're in a vacation market. If you are in a town that they are not in, you need, quote, a vacation so you can come and get a feel for the area if you've never been out here. The mistake is to push them into a home if they don't know where they want to go. And what she's saying is that there is a tour feeling. And I'm going to make one really clear distinction. You're not a tour guide if you have a ton of business. But if you have zero things in your pipeline and you have zero closings coming up, you're 100% a tour guide. You have nothing else going on with your time besides starting to make deals happen. You only have the ability and the privilege to say no to spending more time with clients when you're spending a lot of time with clients.
Fair. Yeah, I guess we're a little bratty sometimes. I might cut that. Should I
No,
cut that
no,
part out?
I don't think you should cut that because the thing is, like, you're right, and this part is also right. Like, the mistake is that someone is brand new and they're like, I'm not the tour guide. Yes, you are, right? The person who is not the tour guide is the person who is doing a ton of business, which is you.
Sure. All right, fine. I won't cut it. Nikki, now that we're kind of talking about it, if you don't have a lot of pending deals, if you don't have a lot of business right now, we're doing like 30 transactions, pending transactions at a time. So for us, every minute of every day is valuable. We have 4 kids, like we have 19,000 leads in our database, 18 agents, so our priorities are a little bit different. But if you don't have any pendings, if you don't have any active listings, get out there. You can be the tour guide. If you don't know the inventory, that's crucial. I think sometimes I kind of forget or take lightly that I was born and raised here. So for me, like, I know where everything is.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and somebody who's new here, which some of your agents, they're transplants. They don't know it yet. And so getting out there is going to be better for them too because they need the tours as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you so much for coming on our show. I always love talking with you. You're just awesome. I don't even know what else to say, Nikki. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, just covering today, we really went over some conversion techniques. The thing that I always say at the end of every call is don't wait for something to happen, go and make it happen. And I really mean that. Application is the secret, y'all. Ally and I didn't get here because we listened to a lot of good podcasts and then went ahead and left them on the back burner and were like, that was a good listen. We're the type to apply. So if you'll listen to what you hear and use it, you'll be a different agent.
That's great. That's great. And every day, if you're 1% better, by the end of the year, you'll be 365% better.
Yes. Thank you for having me in the Buyer's Box podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on next episode.
See you. Bye for now.
Bye.